Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Wind Waker. I'm still not used to saying it like that. Can I take this weapon through the door? Will it let me? Oh, I just drop it. Okay, it was worth a try. Sometimes you just don't know until you try. But anyway, we're playing Wind Waker. If y'all don't know, I do a Wind Waker fan project on this channel where I'm 3D modeling Hyrule, as it could have existed within the style of the Wind Waker and its overworld, and how they connect. So I've been playing the game itself because, well, I haven't actually done a playthrough in like a year, and so I've been getting back into the game, trying to pick up details that I might have missed, and like I think it's a great feel just for the aesthetics too. It's just like literally to re-immerse myself in the art style, see that the way that they use models and textures, because I guess like there's a way that you can like look at some of the work that I do in my fan project, and I'm like, obviously it doesn't look like a AAA modern release, even for a cell shaded like art style. But the question is it matching the Wind Waker's art style? Because those are different specifications. This is an old game. It's 20 years old now, and I think it's aged beautifully. I think this still feels like a modern game in so many ways. But like it is lower poly. And I need to be judging my models and texture use against the game and not just like my expectations for how a good model should look. And I think all of these models look good, but like their UV mapping like methods are a little bit like, you know, I don't I'm not saying they're outdated, but like there's a lot more stretching, using low res textures to stretch across like bigger planes, um, and that's just part of the art style. Like that they are cutting more corners than the corners that you might cut today, um, compared to like similar games made today with similar art styles going for a similar feel. So I don't know. I guess like all this to say is just like I guess I'm excited to like re-immerse myself in the game as it actually is, not just what I want it to be, right? And that's something that I'm just trying to like check all of those things, even just like game design wise, thinking about the way that this game is made and thinking about the story that it tells and just reanalyzing what it has to say. But here we go. So we just tried to save our sister. We went into the belly of the beast. We failed. And because of that, our journey truly begins. We thought it would be this easy. Well, have you come to your senses yet? That's the whole thing. He did not come to his senses. You were surprisingly dull witted. I love that. It's that little moment where Link is like, first of all, he didn't realize that it was the voice of the King Red Lions. But second off, it's a statement that he was too, too brash, like rushing into the Forsaken Fortress without actually preparing, without actually growing his own strength to take on this great enemy who is Ganon. Joe, I have been watching you since you went to the Forsaken Fortress to rescue your sister. I understand now your desire to protect your sister could give you the courage to fearlessly stand up to anything. But such a bold attempt was foolhardy. I suppose you saw him, the shadow that commands that monstrous bird. His name is Ganon. The build up there, the music dropped out. It's like they're doing like a beat drop. I love that. The suspense, man, the drama. He who obtained the power of the gods attempted to cover the land in darkness and was ultimately sealed away by the very power he hoped to command. Is that true? Yeah, sealed away by the Triforce. He is the very same Ganon, the Emperor of the Dark Realm the ancient legend spoke of. Oh, that's great. I do not know why the seal of the gods has failed, but now that Ganon has returned, the world is once again being threatened by his evil magic. That's great. Tell me, Joe, do you still wish to save your sister from him? Just like, oh man, just like the image of him just like standing in the fire. Obviously, like it's a comparison to Ocarina of Time's cutscenes where they introduce Ganondorf on horseback riding through fire. Um, but like it's a powerful image, and I love that just as like a shorthand for, his strength, right? For the destruction that he can cause, as being surrounded by fire. So I don't know. It's a great image, great shorthand. In that case, we depart to the great sea. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This is actually a bit embarrassing for me to admit. But although I am indeed a boat that possesses the power of speech, I possess no sail. And a boat with no sail can sail no seas. How'd he drift all the way there then? I mean, think about it. If he was, I don't know. If he was watching him since he began his journey, that boat drifted a long way. But we did it. Windfall Island. I think I'm saying it. My favorite island in the game. I think no question, right? It's just, it's beautiful aesthetically, and it has my favorite side quests. And that's the thing is like there's just so much to do, but there's also so much character. And these NPCs here, like you really get to make a connection with them. With Zunari, right? Like we're about to jumpstart his business, and there's all these other characters that we get to have an effect on their life. The bomb shop owner, we get to turn him, like scare him straight, right? Participate in that. Oh man, there's just so much. The gossip of the town, right? As you get to hear different things and report back to the pictograph owner. These characters change, right? The whole rags to riches storyline and vice versa. I mean, that's what the island is named for, is Windfall, which I think is interesting, right? Because it's named for basically this character, right? The idea that a poor person could by chance stumble upon riches, and the whole island is named after that storyline. And I think it's interesting that that's the one that's lifted up to, for the island to be named after. But my story is a strange one. I came across cursed seas from a land far away. A land where the blizzards blow violently, heading for this town called Windfall. So where do you think he's from? Because, I mean, in the game we find Ice Ring Isle. Do you think that Zunari is from Ice Ring Isle? Or do you think that this means like somewhere apart from the Great Sea entirely? Comment down below what you think. I want to see some theories in the comment section. 80 rubies? For some reason I thought it was only 40. 80 rubies, man. Man, come on. Come on. Excuse me. I get ahead of myself. But, oh man. Come on, stop looking at me like that. Gossick. Come on, man. Isn't that his name? Isn't that Gossick? Or I get them all mixed up. These are things that I would know if I ever fully completed the Nintendo Gallery side quest. I want to do that eventually. That won't be this playthrough, obviously. Because I think you just have to be like on a second playthrough to really fully complete it. I don't think you can do that in your first playthrough. It's 10 rubies per game. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do some Sploosh Kaboom. Welcome to the fleet. I am the great Admiral Davalsky. Look sharp. Is that a reference to something? Davalsky? Look sharp, for thee are the sole protectors of this island. Admiral, excuse me, red alert, all hands on deck. Sonar shows the schools of deadly giant squid are approaching. All ships prepare for battle. What? Where? Ah, who? I see their friends approach. There are 3 squid groups, a large... I don't know if he's doing the accent anymore. Yeah. There are 3 squid groups, a large one, a medium one, and a small one. If we allow them to come any closer, the children on the island will be in grave danger. I feel like... Did y'all watch the... I'm a really big fan of the 90s Spider-Man animated series. Do y'all remember Michael Morbius's voice actor? He'll go, Felicia! Like that. I love his voice actor. I love all the cast in that show, man. Mark Hamill was the Hobgoblin in that show. But yeah, the 90s Spider-Man show. I'm here to say good things about it. Anyway, I don't have a trick for Sploosh Kaboom. I'm just going to see if I can get it on my first try. I don't know. Oh, what do you know? This could be a good run. Okay. So I've done, I think, is the big one all that's left? I'm worried. I want to be really intentional about where I'm hitting. Okay, I think it's a 5er, right? It's not a 2er, is it? I think it's 3, 4, 5. So I'm trying to think about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it could be here. But if it's a 2er, then that doesn't really help me narrow it down. Because there's not really space left for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unless it's here. Nope. There's not space left. If I find a 2er first try. Yeah, it was a 2er. So it's 3, 4, 2. Okay. I don't know if I knew that. Maybe he said it and I wasn't paying attention. Oh, man. Anyway. It's 2, 3, 4. It's really the right way to say it, but... Anyway. Okay, that's the 2er. That's actually a good way to start. Thank God. Starting with that is better, but I'm really going through it. Okay, that's the 3er. Now I need the 4. That's easier to find. Oh, this could be it. Let's go! With 2 cannons to spare. I'm a king. I'm a god. Excellent work, sailors. Your deeds have successfully protected the base on this fair island. We are so very proud. The children on the island would like to thank you, sailor. Ah. Thank you, Mr. Sailor. Please take this piece of heart as a sign of our gratitude. You are so great. Do they have accents too? I'm going to give them accents. A piece of heart. Let's go. Do I get anything more from Sploosh Kaboom? Thank you for playing for all that. Okay. I'm going to see if I get anything else, if I get it again. I don't know. I feel like I might get a treasure chart as well. Excuse me. I don't have like the rewards memorized for this game. Not that I need to, but that's something that like if I was like a speedrunner or something, I might know more about. And I feel like they have a more intimate knowledge of the game than I do. And I've grown up with the game, and I feel like I know all the game text like cover to cover, front to back. So I don't know. I think speedrunning is really interesting. I love watching Linkus's videos, for instance. I mean, there's so many speedrunners. I just did a podcast interview with Timber, who does like Tears of the Kingdom speedrunning and glitches, and watch that on this channel. It might already be out by the time this video comes out. So I love the speedrunning scene, and I'd love to get more into it myself. I don't know that I would ever be a speedrunner. I don't know. My coordination's not terrible, but it's just that kind of competition. Like I think it would be fun, but like I don't necessarily need it right now. But like I would be interested in learning some tricks casually, right? Like learning enough that like it would be impressive for a casual player. So I don't know. If there's some things in like Wind Waker that might be easy to pick up, I'd be interested in that. But so comment down below if there's some easy tricks to learn. But I don't know what would be a good starting point. Okay. I'm not doing the grid method anymore. I'm just seeing if I can find it. I'm not gonna. Oh, maybe I am. Nah, I can't win. I need 4, and I don't have 4 left, even if I find it. Oh, I did find it, but I didn't have enough left. Well, that's it. That's all my rubies. All right. Well, that was a good use of rubies. Well, let's get out of here. We'll come back to Windfall later. Trust me. Trust me, we'll be back. And here we are back on my favorite island. It's like there's quests we could go ahead and do here. Like I could go ahead and do some Killer Bee stuff, but I kind of want a reason to come back. So I don't know. I might go ahead and embark on the quest. I don't know. I mean, there's stuff I could do while I'm here, but you know what? I mean, it's hard to say goodbye. It's hard. I don't want to say goodbye, but I will, because as much fun as Windfall Island is, it's also fun to sail. So let's embark on our venture for real. And I guess like, you know, like it takes a while, like before you get your boat, your sail, before you start sailing. Obviously, even here, you're not really fully free to sail wherever you want. But like, I don't know, like the game has still been fun so far. Like, and obviously like there's so much you could do on Windfall Island. Like there's so much stuff I could have just done that I didn't do. I could have broken out Tingle. I could have done the Killer Bees side quest. But I don't know. It gives me a reason to come back. I'll be back to I'll be back at Windfall eventually. At the very least for the Nehru's Pearl. I don't know if that'll be the next time I'm there. I guess so, because I don't really know that we get to sail anywhere we want really until then. So we have a couple dungeons until then. But like, I guess like the game is still fun, right? Even when it's not open, it doesn't feel like my time is being wasted. And there are Zelda games where it's like they're hard to do on a repeat playthrough, because it's like, all right, before I can do what I want, I have to do this like tedious thing, right? I think Twilight Princess's opening is interesting because, like, I don't really feel that way about it, but I did feel that way about Skyward Sword. And their openings are maybe close to the same length. I don't know if that's true. But Skyward Sword, like, felt tedious. Like, it felt like the game never really opened up. And even when it did, it still felt tedious. It's like, I don't know. I like Skyward Sword, but it took me a while to fall in love with it. And its opening is something that's sometimes hard to be patient with. It's like, I like the game a couple dungeons in is when it really starts to open up. And I love its intro. I love the cutscenes and the relationship you have with Zelda. My issue is like when you're so motivated to save Zelda, and then the game's like, hey, you're actually not gonna save Zelda for a while. You're gonna go on a goose chase, and you're gonna like, you know, have to like collect these kiwis, right? Like that. There's just a whole thing there that I just kind of feel like my time's being wasted. I'm like, I'm trying to save Zelda, so why am I not saving Zelda right now? Why is she running away from me? It just feels like your time's being wasted. Um, Even though like I don't know, like I like its dungeons, but it's like I guess like I don't know. It's interesting because like there's just like a part of my brain where it's like I know that this is a video game, and that like the point of this game is like to go from level to level, playing through these dungeons. Um, but it's like I want a narrative reason, and I think the games are at their best when there's a strong sense of story that motivates gameplay. When you can connect the two, and I think Zelda's at its best when it marries gameplay and story, and I think a game like Wind Waker does that really well. But there's other games where like what do they call it, ludonarrative dissonance, is that the word that people talk about, where there's like a disconnect between gameplay and story. And that's something that I think Skyward Sword struggles with. That's something that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom struggle with, because you're told that there's urgency, but you're also allowed to just like go wherever you want and take time. There's no actual urgency. Oh, which is fine. Like I can be forgiving of that, but I think a game like Wind Waker, like pretty much all the story or pretty much all the gameplay decisions are benefited by story reasons. In general, I think the only exception is the very end of the game, where it's like you're on your way to the final boss, but you can still like do side quests, and it's not going to stop you from doing that, right? I think that's really the only time where that feels disconnected. Da, do, do, do. I think this is really interesting. Like, I enjoy the Wind Waker mechanic. Like, to me, it's not really the star of the show as much as sailing itself is. But I think it's a really cool, like, I guess, like, playing the Wind Waker. Like, I don't think that's, like, a crazy mechanic. It feels like I'm learning a spell in some of the Harry Potter games, right? Where it's, like, a weird, just a little mini game for a second. But I guess I love that wind as an element is controllable. I think that's a really cool mechanic. Excuse me. I haven't done this yet. Just the idea of being able to control the wind is really novel. And I don't know if I've seen it in any other game. Just like, because that's something that, of course, like it affects sailing. You get your paraglider, not paraglider, but the Deku Leaf, and wind direction affects, where you drift, the direction you drift in. Like, I don't know, I think a modern Zelda game, like, could benefit from having, like, a sense of, like, wind direction being, what am I trying to say? Like, controlling the wind being, like, a new mechanic in a modern Zelda game. And, like, there is wind in the Switch games in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, wind is an element, but that idea of wind direction as a whole is not really preserved like it is in Wind Waker. I don't know of another game that does it. But, I don't know, I guess I was just thinking about, like, the Wind Waker also as a musical instrument. And, like, in this game, it's not a great musical instrument like it is, or like the instruments are in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. I was just playing Majora's Mask the other day, and I found out that, like, it's like I've never really tried to play it like a musical instrument, but, like, I'm a musician, and I was like, all right, like, let's give it some time. So me and a friend were just playing the it was Majora's Mask. We were playing the Ocarina of Time item, and we were just like, wait a minute, like, you can do pretty much every note in a chromatic scale, which is like every note on a keyboard. Like, basically from, like, if you start on a starting note, you can basically go up an octave plus, like, a couple notes. It's not every note chromatically. There is, like, a gap somewhere, but you can do a full major scale, a full minor scale. There's like one, like, I think it's literally one chromatic note that it's missing, that's stopping you from doing a full chromatic, chromatic scale. I don't know that that's the term, but, like, stopping you from actually playing every note. There's just one little half step missing. So, like, that's something that, like, if you really, like, like, got to know the notes, and I was trying to, like, do some songs. I was trying to do, like, the Star Spangled Banner, and, like, which was a little easier because I could jump in, like, thirds and fifths. And I was like, okay, like, I can kind of go from pressing up, like, on both sticks to pressing up on one and down on the other, just because, like, the intervals, like, are easy to kind of swap between, like, I mean, it's a hard instrument to learn and it's not super intuitive, but once you know it, like, there are like intervals that aren't hard to piece together. Anyway, I don't know. I think that's cool. No, my controller. But I just think it's just awesome that, especially an N64 game, like, would go through the effort of like designing a whole musical instrument where you can play most notes. So that's just really empowering. And obviously, you don't have to use all the notes during the course of the game. Only a couple notes are required. But just the fact that it empowers you to do that is just really cool. And that speaks to just the game designers and just like what they allow you to do, even in the N64 games, which feel more restrictive to modern audiences. But anyway, we are approaching the first dungeon of the Wind Waker. We're now on Dragon Roost. Oh man, I love these little micro stories too that we approach with each dungeon. I guess like I think this is something that this game really does well. And I think like Tears of the Kingdom did this good too. I've been critiquing its story a little bit in these videos, and like the way that its story is integrated with gameplay. But I do think like Tears of the Kingdom had, like, similar to Wind Waker, like some really satisfying moments where you got to connect with different tribes right before you do their dungeon, and like inspiring different characters and having that connection with the characters. I think that's something that worked really well, especially in Tears of the Kingdom. Breath of the Wild had a little bit of that, but especially in Tears of the Kingdom, like, I love that all of its dungeons were about like inspiring people, which is also what this game's about. Like, that's what Wind Waker does so well as well. And there's several characters that we inspire through the course of the game by being heroic and giving them, I mean, not just being a hero, but like, giving them our attention and hearing them out. And they may be people that may be ignored by others in their community, but we give them our time, and that's valuable. And not just our time, but like respecting their viewpoints. That's something that we get with Prince Kamali and with Medley, right? That, like, we're able to meet them on their level and say like, hey, like, I don't, maybe the adults are kind of talking behind your back or above you or whatever it is. But like, we can kind of meet each other eye to eye. And if you think that we can get to Dragon Roost Cavern, and that's the only way to fix this whole thing, let's do it. Let's go. So, I don't know. I love this stuff with Prince Kamali, right? Like, he's, even his own dad is saying he's weak in some ways. And his own dad thinks that his son might give up. And this is tough. I think we've all been in situations where we're let down by things. I don't know. I don't necessarily need to say too much about my personal life to get into that, but there's definitely things that I don't know. There's things that it's been easy to give up on. So sometimes it's hard to stay steady. I think we all have examples in our personal lives of times where, we felt disillusioned by something, whether that was school or a friend or a passion project that we're trying to stay steady with. And it's hard to be steady all the time. Sometimes you go, you know what? It's just, I don't have it in me. I'm not good enough. I don't have the time or energy anymore. And I think about Prince Kamali, and he felt like there was an impossible task ahead of him. And it seemed impossible to him until he saw someone else succeed. And then he saw, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. So I don't know. Sometimes I think, like, if you need something to inspire you, sometimes just a little bit of companionship or competition is the key, right? See if you can go, you know what? If they could do it, I can do it better, right? Sometimes that's all you need. But I don't know. I don't want to get too deep here. But I mean, like, this is what this game's about, right? This is what the Wind Waker tells you. I didn't get the letter, did I? There was one thing I was supposed to do, and I wasn't paying attention. Excuse me. I was just too busy yapping. Excuse me. Let's go find Medley. I was too busy talking about this whole thing. But I guess just like, I don't know, just like I could keep saying it, but like this game, like, I don't know, it's like that whole thing I was just talking about. Like, I'm sure we all have personal experiences where we think about like our own resilience and times where we've had to learn that, or times where we have given up. Because sometimes it is okay to say that something is impossible, or that, like, we don't have to do everything, right? It's okay to admit that too. But also there are times where sometimes we just need a little strength to keep going and to be diligent and to accomplish our dream. And so I don't know, like, that's something that this game shows you, just what it means to, like, give someone else your courage. to reinstill their courage, because that's something that Kamali was missing. I have a small favor I'd like to ask of you. Could you please come to the entrance of Dragon Roost Cavern later? I'll explain everything. All right, now let's go to Prince Kamali. Here we go. All right, I was getting ahead of myself. All right, excuse me. Excuse me. You know, I start to empathize with. I remember watching the Game Grumps play Wind Waker, and I remember being so frustrated. Sometimes when they play Zelda games, I'm like this, and I'm like, if you just read the text box, like, you would know what to do. And here I am, like, skipping through the text box. And it's different for me because I've already played the game. Like, I know where to go, but, like, you know, I'm just as bad as them. A letter from my father? Oh, sure. Telling me to be brave is easy enough for him. It's not like he's the one who went through that horrible experience. It's not like he still has to go get a scale from Valoo. You're in this letter too, you know. Poking your nose in other people's business. You're nosy, aren't you? Sorry, but I really don't feel like going to see Valoo right now. I mean, how am I supposed to get a scale from him when he's so upset? What? Are you trying to say that you can calm Valoo down? Psh, that's just a big fat lie. It's easy to say you can do anything. Bragging doesn't cost a thing. I'll tell you what, if you can find me someone who can get past all the obstacles on Dragon Roost to get to Valoo, then I'll listen to anything you say. I don't know, I love this because I guess, like, if the player isn't, you know, like, if you're just looking at, like, oh, I'm trying to get the pearl, and I see that he has the pearl, and I want that pearl, then, like, I get the directive is, oh, if I can just do what he asks, I can talk him into getting the pearl. But that's wrapped up in this whole story of inspiring him and motivating him to go get his wings, literally go grow his wings. But anyway, I think that's about all the time we have in this video. In the next video, we're going to start climbing Dragon Roost. I'll see you then.